So what you're seeing on screen here are pictures of me at 20 years old. At the time, I was drinking and smoking basically every single night. I was failing college classes. I was terrible with women. If you had asked anybody, they would have said, this guy is wasting his potential in life. And it was because I was going down the normal life path, you know? I was going to college because that's what people told me to do. I was going to get a corporate job because that's what I thought I was supposed to get, you know? I had all the normal mindsets, you know? I had them with women. I thought it was be a nice guy, buy her flowers, all that kind of stuff. And that led to me being a doormat. I had no passion and purpose for the future of my life. And so basically I just turned into a degenerate in the moment. Now fast forward to today, I made some changes besides just losing my hair. You know, now I work for myself full time, making great money, doing things I have passion for. I love the direction I'm headed in life. My future seems bright. I have a mindset that I've built from the ground up by dealing with the truth about the way the world works. And it has allowed me to unlock different things for myself, from career success to dating success to building great friendships like you can see here. Here's a picture of me and my friend Kenny in Miami. We took this trip. This is the kind of friendship you make when you start getting on the right life path. I'm doing cool stuff like this, as you can see here, and this isn't to brag. I just want you guys to see what's possible. I was that guy at 20 years old who wanted more from life but didn't know how to get it, and so he was crashing out. But then I found the way to change things up and get what I wanted out of life. But the truth is, had I not made these 3 changes I'm going to show you here, I would have ruined my life in my 20s. Because the normal life path and the mindsets that society gives us leads to us ruining our lives. It's set up that way. Seriously, like, here's the sad reality of most men by the time they hit 30, right? Out of shape. I put this guy's body on here every time and you guys think it's funny. I mean, like, but this is the average guy's body. I hammer on it because I want you guys to know what's coming if you don't make changes. The average man makes $37,585 per year. This is the normal life path. Working in a cubicle with that body. 28% of men, and this was in 2018, by the way, 28% of men have not had sex in the last year. And I would tell you by 2025, those numbers are reaching 45% because ever since COVID and the way things have gone online, it's just gotten worse for guys. This is the normal life path. Body that you're embarrassed about, making no money in a cubicle, can't get a date. That's the normal life path, and if you don't make changes, that's what you're headed for. And if you don't want to end up like this, you need to pay attention to this whole video and immediately start taking action to move in the right direction. We don't have time to waste. This is not about just consuming content and then back to business as usual. You need to start making some changes because this is going to happen if you don't start taking action. This chart right here, I've shown this in a number of my videos. If you're new to the channel, what it shows on the y-axis is the quality of life for a man from 10 to 0. On the x-axis, we have a man's age from 18 to 34. The red line shows the normal life path for a man. He goes off to college, his quality of life gets up to like a 2 or so. He's in the frat party, he thinks he's having a great time getting drunk and all this shit. He leaves college, crashes back out. Now he's like a bottom feeder in society, working at Starbucks, making $15 an hour. By the time he hits his mid-20s there, you know, 24, 25, maybe he's gotten a promotion, maybe he's gotten more of an official job. His quality of life picks up a little bit more. He's still out here just not taking his life seriously, though. He's not taking care of his health. He's getting into debt, financing cars he can't afford, things like that. His health starts deteriorating. He can't keep up with the expenses. By the time the average man hits about 30 years old, his quality of life is a 1 out of 10, and it basically sits there for the rest of his life. Now, on the blue line there, you see people who chose to take a different path in life. And what happens is you put in the work early, you're locked in, you sacrifice your 20s, and things start really taking off as you hit your late 20s, and especially by the time you hit 30, you're at a 10 out of 10 lifestyle. And I want to tell you guys, like, I was on the red path, and at 20 years old, I switched to the blue path. And that's how I know that this stuff works. That's how I can tell you this, and I mean it. I was going down that path. I was in college, hanging out with some frat bros, getting drunk, getting high, doing all that BS. And I thought my life was great because compared to high school, it was a little bit better. But truthfully, I was living in hell. I had no purpose. I was miserable, and I was cruising for disaster if I hadn't made changes. And now at this point, I am 27 years old, and I would say I'm at about a 6 out of 10 quality of life and continuing to pick up. Things start changing really quickly now. So with that in mind, let's get into these 3 things that you need to understand so that you can avoid ruining your life. Number 1, letting society frame your life choices. This is the first big thing that people do right off the bat to ruin their lives. Because like we already said, society, the path they're leading you down, it's headed for disaster. So if you let society frame your life choices, it's not going to end well. This is what I mean when I say letting society frame your life choices. In high school, they showed me these kinds of charts. I'm sure they showed you stuff like this before. What it shows right here, you can see it says high school dropout, high school diploma, bachelor's degree, graduate degree. And it talks about lifetime income earned by education level. And basically it shows you that, hey, the more education you get, as in like formal education, going to college, all that kind of stuff, the more money you're going to make in your career. And this is an example of how society frames your choices, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, this graph that you're seeing here, it frames a few things. And basically what society is trying to do with this is get you to make the decision that it wants you to make. So how does this chart right here, how does it frame things? Well, the first thing it frames is that you're gonna be an employee. The implication of this chart right here is that you're going to be an employee getting your 2-week paycheck, you're going to have this income, and it kind of implies like, hey, if you just go get a 4-year degree, you'll get paid more on your salary and things like that. The next thing it implies is that college is the only option for continuing education. You'll notice that it doesn't mention anything about getting future certificates or, like you could get a coding certificate. You could have proof of work in a lot of different businesses. You could go get a trade job, things like that. It doesn't mention any of that kind of stuff. It implies that college is the only option for continuing education. It also doesn't mention anything about, hey, like you could go out and get on YouTube and learn a bunch of stuff. It doesn't imply any of this kind of stuff. It implies that going to college is higher status. You can even see that subtly in the way that they put the graduate degree above the high school diploma. This is how they frame all this stuff. And you might think I'm overthinking it, but I'm not. This is literally how they do things. They say the system wants you to go to college, obviously, because every fucking guidance counselor in America pushes that shit on us, right? They want you to go to college, and they frame everything in this way. And so when they present this kind of stuff to a class, the implication is, hey, if you go to college, you're better than the person who didn't go to college. So they try to pitch it as this status symbol. The next thing they do to frame things with this is they say the most money you can make in your career is $3.2 million, because that's about how much the graduate degree can make. Well, we know that's not true, but when they present this to you at like 17, 18 years old, you don't know what else to think. You're like, okay, I guess that's the way to do it, right? And so they have framed the situation as you're going to be a wage earner for the rest of your life, and you better go get a college degree because you'll earn a little bit more wages, and you can reach $3.2 million if you go get all this education, right? That's how they frame this thing. So through framing, we can be convinced to do what society wants us to do. Because most of us, when we saw this chart, we were like, I guess I better go to college because I'll make more money, right? They frame things this way. This is how society controls you without force. Basically, it's, force is messy, right? If you're a government, if you're a ruler, forcing people to do things is messy. If you can just convince them to do what you want them to do, that's a lot easier. And so that's how our system is run, right? We have democracy technically, so they can't really just like shove things down on us. What they have to do is convince us to go along with their BS, and this is how they use media propaganda, all this other stuff. They try to get you to go down a certain path in life that they want you to go down. Notice that they don't tell you what the richest people did. That's a big omission from this, right? They show you that chart with the college-educated people and how much money they make. They show you it with the high school people. But they don't ever just say, hey, here's how you get rich. Here's what rich people do. They don't give you that option because that's not something that society really wants you to do. They don't want you to become rich enough to escape the system. They want you to work, pay your taxes so that they can fund everything, right? They want you to be this employee taking out a bunch of debt for a college education, doing all this stuff. You're useful to the system that way. You're not useful to the system if you get rich enough to escape it. You see what I'm saying? So they don't tell you how to get rich because rich is inconvenient for them. You'll notice that society does this a lot also, right? Here's a few other examples. Mortgages and 401ks. And I'm not saying these things are bad, by the way, necessarily. Because what the system will do is they'll try to incentivize you to do stuff, but they kind of offer you like, again, here's the one thing that sucks, here's something that's a little bit better. That's kind of how they set the incentives up, and they control the incentive structures. Therefore, they can use them to get you to do what they want you to do. So in both of these cases, the incentive structure, you'll notice, for a 401k, what happens is you put money in and you can't take that money out of the account without a penalty until you get to like 60 years old. So what does that do? It locks your money up for a long time. So you're investing now for retirement. They have gotten you framed. The framing of a 401k is I'm going to work until I'm old and then I'll take this money out. So again, they've locked you up into what they want you to do, which is work in the workforce for the entirety of your life. Same with a mortgage. It's a 30-year mortgage to pay these things off. Again, I'm not saying the 401k is completely awful. Again, it makes more sense to do the 401k than to blow your money on stupid shit. It makes more sense to buy a house than to just rent for the rest of your life, right? So it's not that these things are necessarily all bad, but the framing around these things is that this is what you should do. These are smart choices, right? The thing about a 401k again is again, framing. They tell you, you'll see this. I mean, a lot of you who have jobs, you've probably experienced this. Your employer talking to you about the benefits of a 401k. Hey, you put your money in, it compounds. By the time you get to this point, you have all this money, right? That's the pitch. But notice that they don't tell you what else you could do with the money. What would be the return on investment for, investing in skill sets and starting a business? You get more return. Again, I say listen to rich people. What are the rich people doing? They'll all say invest in personal growth. Every rich person I hear says invest in personal growth. $1,000 ain't shit. $10,000 ain't shit. Just put it back into yourself and getting better. You don't even need to think about investing in passive income assets until you've got a ton of money. That's what they all say. Mortgages, again, they'll talk about being a good investment to own a house. I would tell you, owning a house is better than renting as far as asset wise. But again, are there better investments you could do? Are there better ways you could go about this? You see what I'm saying? But they frame everything for you. They frame it as a choice between either rent and lose all your money or buy a house and now you have this asset. They frame it as spend all your money and be broke in retirement or invest in the 401k and then you have money at retirement. They frame it the way they want you to do things. And for most people, we just don't think to ask these questions. And because of that, we just go down the normal life path. This is how we all end up on this path, right? Things are presented to us. We don't know to question them. And so we just go with them. This is how I ended up at 20 years old with no plan for my future that I was happy with. I was depressed by it. I was like, this fucking sucks. I'm going to work in a cubicle, climb the ranks. I'm never going to make the money I want to make in life, apparently. A 401k, that's what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to buy a house, be this beta male husband. That's the path I'm going to go down in life, apparently, because that's the framing that we're given. This is in everything, guys. The media and how every single TV show has the guy being a doormat and the wife is always the smart one. It's framing. Everything is framing, okay? Just start noticing this. All of society is framing things to get you to do what they want. It's not just with money, but all of it, literally. The framing with diet, right? They'll tell you that Lucky Charms, literally on the food pyramid, it says that Lucky Charms are better for you than steak. Again, the framing in TV shows that the man's dumb, he needs to submit to the woman, he's always on a knee for her, Cinderella's glass slipper. It's always about the stuff where the man's emasculating himself. They're trying to set up a system, and the system is they want you to be submissive and obedient and work your whole life paying taxes, and then if you're a good little boy and you invested in your 401k, then you can retire, and you won't make any waves in the system, you won't have enough power and influence to do anything, you can't really escape because you don't have enough money. This is how it's all set up. Okay? They set this whole thing up this way from top to bottom, and you got to recognize this if you want to live differently, because this is what we're all fed into, and if you don't start waking up, you're going to end up on this life path, and we've seen where the normal life path leads you. How can you get what you want out of life if you're letting society make the choices for you? That's the big thing to understand. If you notice that you're doing what everybody else is doing, as far as normal actions, normal decisions, all that kind of stuff, just know what you're going to get. You're going to get what society wants you to get, which is nothing. Which is bullshit. Seriously. It's either best case scenario, you were a good little boy and you get your 401k and your paid off house at 65 years old, your dick doesn't work, congrats. You spent your whole prime of your life slaving away at something you had no passion for. Maybe you got divorced and lost half of it along the way as well, right? All that good stuff. Or you make different choices, you get different outcomes, right? This is how this works, but you got to understand, if you're letting society make the choices and frame your decision-making process for you, then you're going to be screwed. You got to get out of the box, guys. Seriously, you got to question everything. The more I go along, the more I realize you got to question everything at a foundational level. Even the most basic of things. Seriously, because I just go on, I'm they lied about everything in health. The entire financial system is set up to exploit you. The marriage system is, I'm really at this point, I'm getting to the, I'm getting dark here, but seriously, the marriage system is designed to exploit guys in a lot of ways. Again, divorces, the whole thing, it's all set up this way. And you got to start questioning everything and realize you've been put in this system that has framed your whole life. And if you don't get out of that box, you're headed for disaster. Seriously. And this is why most people end up in disaster. To avoid ruining your life, it's important to start asking the right questions. You've got to ask those questions about the framing. Seriously, what do you want out of life? That's the first place to start. Because once you know that, and you're willing to just ask that question, it forces you to think out of the box. This was for me, I remember at 12 years old, my mother asked me what I wanted to do with my life. I said, I don't know, I just know I want to make a lot of money. The fact that I wanted to make a lot of money led to me eventually asking the questions, because nothing society was offering me was going to get me the kind of money I wanted out of life, which led to me unlocking all these other things and realizing, oh, they're bullshitting me about health, they're bullshitting me about relationships. It's all crap. It's all framing to get us to do what they want us to do. So once you ask this question, you get clear on something like, I want that from life, now you'll start looking for alternatives. Do the options society is pushing on you get you where you want to end up? Just look at the outcomes that society gets you. Divorced, broke, out of shape. Is what society's offering you what you want? If not, it's time to start thinking different. You cannot do what normal people do and expect to get good results. It's just not going to happen. If not, it's time to start looking for alternatives. And here are some examples. Like I said, it was money that was the driver for me to make changes. I was like, my career path sounds like absolute hell to me. Purposeless work that doesn't pay me what I want to get paid. These guys right here were some examples of things that woke me up, right? Grant Cardone, he's big in real estate. He taught me about investing passive income through real estate, got me into the real estate industry. Tai Lopez introduced me to entrepreneurship, especially online. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a book I read. I read a number of books like this, explaining how to actually build wealth and get rich. And when I heard this stuff, I was like, okay, I need to rethink everything. I dropped out of college, got my real estate license. I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. This is the path. I got off it once I found alternatives. You need to go seek out the alternatives. That starts with you having a plan. Once you know what you want, then you can go find alternatives, because you'll realize society's not giving you what you want. Number 2, stay comfortable. If you want to ruin your life, stay comfortable. This is what comfortable gets you. This shit right here. And I don't want to be too much of a dick, guys, but I got to just put this stuff in front of you so it's the harsh truth so that you'll make changes, right? $37,000 again. We go back to that. How the fuck do you live off that? That's insane. In that cubicle, you're fucking bought and paid for by this company paying you $37,000 a year to sit in a fucking cubicle. Congrats. Driving a minivan or some shit, right? And this couple right here, it's like you were comfortable. You didn't take any chances on yourself. You didn't work hard. You didn't go make yourself the most you could be. And so the only woman you could get was some girl you weren't all that thrilled about. Then she starts gaining weight, right? The average couple, I saw the statistic, the average couple gains 36 pounds in a long-term relationship. Fucking crazy, right? So, maybe she was like okay looking and she sort of was interested in you, and so you like wifed her up. And now she's blowing up like a fucking balloon and you're stuck with it, right? And what are you going to do? Leave? You can't do any better because you haven't put any work in on yourself. This is what comfort gets you. All of this is comfortable, right? You don't have to work hard. This will just be handed to you. This will be bestowed upon you. Society's good with like you driving the fucking Kia, having the out of shape wife, like the whole thing. I mean, this guy's not in shape either. Like, I don't know why I'm talking shit about her. They both look terrible. Cubicles and no money. This is the game, right? This is what comfortable gets you. Seriously, like, there's no way around that. Everything you want is on the other side of you putting in the work to become the best version of yourself. There's no way around that. Seriously, all of this stuff right here. Beautiful women, right? Every guy wants the beautiful woman. If you haven't put in the work to make yourself the kind of guy she wants, meaning you've gone out and you've gotten the confidence with women, you've gotten your mindset right when it comes to women. It's like the whole thing, right? You've gotten the experience and the reps. You've gone out and made a fool of yourself with girls, gotten better, gotten to where you became an attractive guy. You got in the gym, you built your career, all this stuff, right? The car, everybody wants that car. If you haven't put in the work to get to a place where you can buy it, you're not going to get it. Brotherhood, shout out Peaky Blinders, by the way, my favorite TV show. But like, if you want true friendship, true brothers with people who are on a mission, going after cool things in life, it's like you better be on that wavelength too. Because I'm not hanging out with bums. I am one of these guys at this point. I have no tolerance for people who aren't getting their shit together. I just don't want them in my life, right? So everything you want, the brotherhood, the real connection, the real friendships, the beautiful women, the car, the house, all of it. It's on the other side of the hard work to make yourself great, which is the opposite of comfort, okay? If you want the best in life, you need a growth mindset. You need to be looking to get better at all times. Personal growth, it's a way of life. There's no end to it. That's something we got to understand. There's no day where you kick up your feet and life's good and you never have to work again. Life is work. Life is war. We are here to toil. That's what we do. We rise. We're like Sisyphus, I believe it was, pushing the boulder up the hill so it can fall back down so we can push it up again. That is why we are here. Okay, that's what we do. And once you can embrace that, you'll actually enjoy it instead of feeling like it shouldn't be this way. And then you get your growth mindset going, work on yourself, and unlock all the things you want in life. But this is the average person has this comfort mindset, and this is how they ruin their life in their 20s. You're comfortable in your 20s goofing off, you don't work on yourself, you don't grow, and now you're screwed. You must view your purpose in life as becoming the best version of yourself. Your purpose is not just to goof off and have fun. Goofing off is for boys. You're a fucking man. It's time to get your shit together and be the best you can be, okay? Not only will this lead to external results, but it will give you meaning and fulfillment in life. There's no meaning in comfort. There's meaning in purpose. Chasing excellence, growing, getting better. You know, like, what would you do, seriously, if you had nothing to work on? I mean, the average guy plays video games because he wants to be comfortable, but he also knows he needs something to do. He needs an objective. So just make real life your objective and stop being a child playing video games. You get what I'm saying? So what does a growth mindset actually look like? Because some people might not quite get this. It's a term thrown around. I wanted to give you some examples. A growth mindset is like when things don't work out, you see it as an opportunity to learn and improve. A lot of people, something doesn't work out and they play the victim. People with growth mindsets are like, okay, great, there's something for me to learn here. There's a way that I could get better based on this, right? Another one, you accept where you are weak and you have the humility to get better. A lot of people have these big egos, right? But you're not going to get better with a big ego. You got to have the humility to be like, okay, I'm not as good as I need to be. Where can I get better? If you're bad with girls, the humility to be like, okay, like I need to start from the ground up. What am I doing wrong? If girls aren't interested in you, stop fooling yourself into thinking that you're more attractive than you are. You need to look in the mirror and be like, okay, maybe I'm, 18, 20% body fat. I need to get down to 12, right? And then also, a part of growth mindset is accepting reality. I just thought of this because a lot of guys are going to hear that and be like, it shouldn't be this way. That's just fucking dumb. It's the way it is. Who are you to decide how the world should work, right? You got to be better if you want what you want out of life. So, that's another part of a growth mindset is saying, okay, this is the way reality is. I need to accept that and get on board with it if I want what I want out of life. Being willing to embarrass yourself as a beginner. A lot of guys will never take a chance because they're afraid of failure and they don't want to look like fools. They won't start the business. They won't quit their job. They won't talk to the girl. They won't, go to the gym. All this stuff because they don't want to look like beginners. It's like, guys, you're a beginner at everything. Seriously. At this point, I'm used to being the guy who's in the best shape, who's physically great, who's like, I've got this physique I've built over the years and all this kind of stuff. But I started boxing like 8 months ago and I go in there and I look like an absolute buffoon. Because I'm like, I'm uptight and stiff because of all the bodybuilding. So like I'm like clunky and shit. And like I throw the punches weird. And I just look goofy. And I'm not like moving my hands right. And I'm just like, I'm having to get humbled, right? I have to be willing to be a beginner. If you are not willing to be a beginner, you cannot be a master. The fool is the precursor to the master. Okay? Because you have to start as a fool. That's the game. That's a growth mindset. Trying things and sticking with it until you figure it out. This whole like comfort mindset comes along with this idea of like things should be easy, and so you try something, it doesn't work out, you get the shiny object syndrome going, and you just try the next thing. This workout plan didn't happen quick enough, and therefore I'm going to switch to this one. This thing's hard, so I'm going to do this instead. You got to stick with stuff until you figure it out. If somebody's already succeeded with it, it'll work for you. You just got to stick with it, right? It's like people will try making a YouTube video and be like, YouTube is saturated and that's why I couldn't grow. It's like, no, you just suck at it, but you only made one video, so of course you suck at it. You need to stick with this for a while. It's like that with a lot of stuff, okay? You have to just stick with shit, seriously. Get that into your head. Pick something, be like, I'm doing it till it fucking works. None of this switching shit. Because it just, every time you switch, like I look back at all the times I switched, because I used to do this. I had this mindset. I would go like try some business idea. It wouldn't work out. Switch to the next one. And I just kept doing that over and over again and nothing happened. You got to drop that shit, man, and just go all in on something. And say, I'm going to stick with this because I know it works because other people have made it work. So I just got to figure it out. Not expecting everything to be easy. That's another part of the growth mindset. Going into things knowing, okay, this is going to be hard. That's a part of a growth mindset. Number 3, chasing pleasure will ruin your life. This is what kind of like early 20s looks like for a guy, right? You're in college, getting drunk with the boys, right? We're just like, the whole mindset is built around like, how can we just have cheap pleasure? That's what society encourages too. Again, that's the framing. Go look at the framing of the way your 20s are set up. The way society frames your life is they basically tell you, hey, your 20s are your prime, goof off, have fun, chase pleasure, and then by that point now you're stuck in the path they want you to take, because now you got to keep paying for your lifestyle, you're in some low income job, barely making ends meet. I mean, again, it's all framing. They don't tell you, hey, listen, if you put in the work, the rest of your life could be amazing. They tell you, hey, go enjoy your 20s, be hedonistic, chase pleasure, and then deal with the rest of that shit later. They tell you to live for today instead of sacrificing for tomorrow, because they know that that means you'll be in a bind tomorrow and you're stuck doing what they want you to do. It's all framing, but this is the framing, right? I remember being in college, like, and luckily I had my diet right, so I didn't do this shit, but like my roommates would come back with this vile looking food every fucking night, gaining weight, playing video games, right? I did play video games a bunch, you know, drinking all the time, smoking weed. This is like what pleasure is, and this is what people think the high of life is, and it's a fucking disaster. It's a great way for you to ruin your life, because you end up in this spot where you have no choices in life, because you haven't worked on yourself, you haven't gotten better, you wasted this great opportunity. You know, there's this great thing where there's a Tupac thing. It was at the end of Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly album. He has this interview with Tupac. And Tupac's talking about how the system gets you in your 20s because they know that by the time you get to 30, you're tired. You don't want to keep fighting the system. You don't want to keep rebelling. And so they try to screw you over in your 20s. Tupac said this shit. I mean, looking back, it was absolutely profound that he knew this back in the 90s and stuff. But like, he was talking about this. And it's true. It's like they know, like, in your 20s is the time when you've got this energy, this optimism. It's like, I can do something with my life. By the time you get to 30, if you're just beat down by life, like, very few people get out. And I know some of you guys watching are over 30 and this kind of stuff disheartens you. I'm trying to talk to the guys out there who are younger than you and have this opportunity to fix this now. If you're over your 30s, you can still fight and make something happen. It's just much harder. And that's what I want you to understand. Like, if you're crashing out chasing pleasure because that's what the system told you to do, just look where your life's going to end up at some point, okay? So where does this get you? Right here, you know, back to the chart. The pleasure chart is the red line. Excellence, chasing excellence is the blue line. When you're like, I want to be the greatest I can be in every way. I want to work on my mindset, my body, my career, my network, everything. I just want to be excellent across the board. A real life superhero, that's the blue line. Pleasure, goofing off, make my life easy, that's the red line, okay? It's gross when I think about it. You can live it up in your 20s and pay for it with the rest of your life, or you can dedicate your 20s to hard work and personal growth, and you can enjoy the rest of your life as a top 1% man. It just makes perfect sense. It's like if you do the work, you'll get the results, but you got to be willing to delay that gratification. And it's hard. It takes a long time. Seriously, like I said, I mean, that blue chart, I'll pull it back up here. That blue chart, like when you're 18, 20, 22 years old and your life still sucks, it's like, man, I should have done something different, but then eventually it just starts picking up. And you're like, okay, like I made the right path. So wherever you're at right now, just understand that. Like, you just got to stick with this. Trust the process. Things will get better. I mean, it just makes sense, right? If this is what the average guy's doing in his 20s, you know, drinking with his friends, playing video games, eating shit food, watching Netflix, and this is what you're doing, you know, reading books on personal developments, improving your social skills, working late on that business, in the gym, eating healthy. It's like, who's going to be better off in the end? This is not rocket science. We both know the answer to this, right? Choices have consequences. It pays off, guys. I want you to understand that. I'm proof of this, right? Am I fucking top of the food chain yet? No, I'm on my way there, but like I definitely am enough proof to tell you at this point, yes, you put in the work, it pays off. Just gotta stick with it every single day, getting up, getting better, all right? Get the body, the mind, and the money right. The rest takes care of itself after that. Because I know a lot of guys, they want to chase girls, they want to do all this stuff, they want to have fun. I get it. I want to have fun too, right? But just get these things taken care of first, and then you can just have all the fun you want, but you've built the mentality so that you can be successful and have fun. It just works out that way, guys, seriously. And this is why I say live a boring life in your 20s, and you'll be up for the rest of your life. And I made an entire video breaking this concept down, and you can click on that video right here. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.